The Galaxy Z Fold 8 Wide could be the first fold that stops feeling like a compromise. The rumor is simple: make it shorter and wider, push the inner screen toward 4:3, and suddenly the two devices in one pitch might finally feel true. If Samsung nails this shape, the Fold doesn't just get better specs. It gets better in the moments you actually feel, like typing one-handed, watching a video, or opening an app, and not seeing a weird stretched layout. But there's one reason this could still flop, even if the hardware is great: Samsung's follow-through. Foldables aren't a novelty anymore. We're 7 generations into Samsung's book-style fold, and the core hardware has matured a lot. Hinges are tougher, screens are brighter, devices are thinner, and durability anxiety isn't the main conversation like it used to be. And yet, one problem has stubbornly stayed alive: proportions. The Fold has always asked you to accept an odd cover screen when it's closed and a not-quite tablet canvas when it's open. That's why the Z Fold 8 Wide rumors are so interesting. The wide version, as it's being described, isn't about reinventing the concept. It's about fixing the shape. Reportedly, we're looking at a wider, shorter cover display around 5.4 inches, and an inner display that leans toward a 4:3 aspect ratio at about 7.6 inches. On paper, that sounds like a small tweak. In real use, that could change everything. So here are the reasons the Z Fold 8 Wide could win, and the one reason it might not. Reason 1. It could make the closed phone feel normal again. If you've used a Fold, you know the cover screen friction. It's tall and narrow, and you feel it constantly. Typing feels cramped. Reaching across the display feels like a stretch. Pulling down notifications one-handed can turn into a grip shuffle. It's usable, but it never disappears the way a good phone does. It's like the phone is always reminding you, hey, I'm a foldable. A wider, shorter cover screen changes that vibe immediately. A 5.4-inch cover display doesn't sound huge, but the important part is the shape, not the diagonal measurement. If the screen is wider, your thumbs have more natural space. The keyboard becomes less of a skinny compromise. Apps that look oddly squeezed on the current cover panel suddenly breathe. And when a device costs this much, you want the closed experience to feel like a real phone, not a backup mode. There's also a comfort factor people don't talk about enough. A shorter device can feel more balanced in the hand. It can sit in the palm without that top-heavy, slab-stretching upward feeling. For anyone who misses older phone proportions, or anyone who just wants one-handed use to be less of a workout, the wide format could be the first fold that feels like it meets you where you are, instead of asking you to adapt. Reason 2. It gives media room to breathe. Watching video on current book-style foldables has always been slightly awkward. Most video is wide. The Fold's cover screen is narrow. So you get big letterboxing, or you zoom and crop, and neither option feels like the premium experience you paid for. Even the inner screen, while big, often lands in a kind of square zone that still doesn't match widescreen content that well. A 4:3-ish inner display changes the math. You still won't get perfect edge-to-edge on every movie, because movies are often 16:9 or even wider, but the usable size can feel larger because the screen's width is more generous. Landscape video starts to look less like it's trapped in the center. And if you watch a lot of YouTube, sports, or streaming shows, that daily improvement matters. Gaming could benefit even more. Many games scale better when there's real width, especially if you're using on-screen controls. On a square display, everything can feel slightly cramped, like the UI is fighting for space. On a wider canvas, the game world opens up. It's not that the Z Fold 8 Wide would suddenly become a dedicated handheld console, but it could stop feeling like you're gaming on a shape that's just a little off. And then there's simple browsing. If you ever rotate a Z Fold to landscape to scroll a feed or read comments, you know it can feel weirdly tight. A wider inner screen makes landscape browsing feel intentional, not like a workaround. Reason 3. It finally starts acting like a real tablet. This is the big identity fix. Foldables sell a dream. A phone when closed, a tablet when open. Samsung has mostly nailed the phone side. The tablet side has always been shakier, and the biggest reason is aspect ratio. A 4:3 canvas is familiar. It's been the default for iPads for years, and developers understand it. That matters because apps don't just magically become tablet apps because the screen got larger. Layouts need to scale in a way that makes sense. Sidebars need to sit where they should. Text columns shouldn't become absurdly wide. Video windows shouldn't look like they were stretched in a funhouse mirror. With a more traditional tablet-like ratio, more apps are likely to look correct without extra tinkering. Not perfect, not every time, but more often. Email, documents, web browsing, photo viewing, and split-screen multitasking all benefit when the screen shape matches what designers already test for. And speaking of split screen, a wider inner display makes two apps side by side feel less cramped. On a square display you can split, but each half can feel narrow depending on the app. If the Z Fold 8 Wide is truly wider, then two-pane multitasking could feel more like mini laptop energy and less like two skinny phone apps squeezed together. Reason 4. It could become the notebook you actually carry. This is where the wide format gets quietly exciting. A wider, shorter device when unfolded can resemble a pocket notebook more than a stretched-out sci-fi phone. If the inner display is close to memo book proportions, it becomes a natural place for quick thoughts. Not because it's flashy, but because it's comfortable. Now, there's a rumor detail that could matter a lot here: thickness. Reports suggest the Fold 8 Wide might be thicker than the standard Z Fold 7, around 9.8 mm when folded. Thicker isn't automatically better, but it can mean Samsung has more room inside. More room can mean better cooling, a larger battery, or more structural reinforcement. But it also raises the obvious question: is Samsung building space back in for stylus support? Samsung hasn't confirmed S Pen support for this wide model, but if it happens, it could be the most real use of the stylus on a Z Fold yet. A 4:3-ish inner display is a more natural writing surface. You could jot a list, mark up a document, sketch a layout, or just scribble ideas without it feeling like you're writing on a screen that's the wrong shape. The difference between stylus supported and stylus feels right is huge, and the wide format has a chance to cross that line. Reason 5. Apple's shadow could actually help it. This sounds backwards, but hear me out. Foldables still have a reputation problem with mainstream buyers. Plenty of people aren't avoiding them because they're dumb or because they can't afford them. They're avoiding them because they're waiting for the category to feel settled. They don't want to buy into a form factor that might vanish, or a design that might be considered the weird era 5 minutes later. And that's where the Apple rumor machine matters. If Apple's rumored foldable iPhone ends up using similar dimensions, a wider and shorter body with a more tablet-like inner canvas, it sends a signal to the market. This is the shape. Apple doesn't need to say it out loud. People read the commitment into the product. And when cautious buyers see two giants converging on the same format, the format gains legitimacy. That doesn't mean those people will buy Samsung instead of Apple. But it can still benefit Samsung because it normalizes the wide approach. It turns experimental oddball into the direction the industry chose. And for a category that still feels like it's seeking a final form, that psychological shift is worth a lot. Now, all of that sounds like a win. Better closed phone feel, better media, better tablet behavior, better note-taking potential, and a credibility boost from Apple circling the same idea. So why might it not win? The one reason it might not: Samsung has a commitment problem. Samsung is great at building interesting hardware. Samsung is less consistent at committing to the weird stuff long enough for it to fully mature. When a company introduces a new form factor, the first generation is rarely the polished one. Accessories need time. Cases need time. Behaviors and UI shortcuts need time. Even small things, like how the keyboard scales or how camera previews behave on the inner display, get better across multiple iterations. If the Z Fold 8 Wide is treated like a one-off experiment instead of a serious branch of the lineup, buyers could hesitate. Nobody wants to spend premium money on a device that might not get a clear second and third generation. And this is especially important for a form factor shift, because the whole point is to build a new standard. There's also the support ecosystem. A new shape means new case designs, new screen protectors, new car mounts, new workflows, new everything. If third-party makers think Samsung might drop the wide idea quickly, they may not go all in. And when accessories are weak, the device feels less mainstream, which reduces sales, which then gives Samsung an excuse to pull back. It's a loop, and it's a real risk. So the Fold 8 Wide's biggest threat might not be the hinge, or the chip, or even the price. It might be uncertainty, If people sense Samsung itself isn't fully committed, they'll wait, and waiting kills momentum. If you want me to cover every Z Fold 8 wide rumor as it drops, including dimensions, battery guesses, camera trade-offs, and whether S Pen support is actually happening, subscribe and turn on notifications. And tell me in the comments which matters more to you, a normal feeling cover screen or a tablet-like inner screen that finally matches real apps. The Galaxy Z Fold 8 Wide, if these rumors are real, isn't trying to be a futuristic novelty, it's trying to be comfortable. A fold that feels like a normal phone when closed and a normal tablet when open is the promise we've been waiting years to see delivered. Samsung might finally have the shape that makes the whole category click. Now it just has to prove it'll stick with it long enough to make the wide idea a real future, not a brief detour. So that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.